Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the Poison Punch cocktail. And, of course, it is the featured cocktail in today's episode. I'm going to start with our shaker with ice. To that, we're going to add gin. This is a punch recipe, so it calls for 2 parts. My parts are going to be 1 ounce. So I'm going to 2 ounces of gin in here. 2 ounces of gin. Next, 2 parts apple juice. So once again, 2 ounces. Next, 2 parts cranberry juice. Once again, 2 ounces. Next, grenadine. 1 part grenadine. So we're doing 1 ounce. Next, optional ingredient, edible glitter. I just happen to have some. Yeah, put a little edible glitter in there. There. Green edible glitter. And we're going to shake. Next, going to strain it into our glass over ice. And there you have it, boys and girls, the Poison Punch. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
If you were building a horror actor dream team, no one would argue with you putting Vincent Price, Peter Cushing, and Sir Christopher Lee on the roster. It's a win-win-win. At least that's what you'd expect from this week's episode of the Scary Spirits podcast, House of the Long Shadows. The 3 actors all star in this movie, and it is wonderful to see them together. But just having great talent together doesn't necessarily guarantee enormous success. I mean, look at us as podcast hosts. But hey, we keep trying. Cheers.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and/or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hi, I'm Greg.
Hey, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the 2 very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Greg?
I am fantastic. Thank you for asking.
It's what we do. Any particular reason you're fantastic?
Well, spring has sprung, Karen. Got lots of thirsty work done today.
That always puts you in a good mood.
It does. Get out there, get a little exercise in, working in the yard and enjoying adult beverage or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5
We're not going to have another
or
maniac.
6. No, we're not. Hi, Karen. I believe this film was your choice, wasn't it, Karen? Wasn't
It
this
was.
your choice?
This was my choice.
Tell us, Karen, what film have you chosen for us this week?
I chose House of the Long Shadows.
Any reason you chose this film, Karen?
Well, you can't fault me. I mean, 3 of the great horror actors have birthdays this week, and all 3 of them are in this film. Vincent Price,
Yes.
Peter Cushing, and
Yes.
Sir Christopher Lee.
Sir
How come
Christopher Lee. Yes.
How come Peter Cushing isn't a sir? You would think he would be.
Who chose the last film they were all in, Karen?
We haven't had one with all of them in it. The last time we watched one was the Oblong Box,
Yes.
and that was with Sir Christopher Lee and Vincent Price, but Peter Cushing was not in that.
Okay.
If you would like to know,
Was it
there
the
are
oblong box?
I thought it was.
Or was it something different?
You're questioning me already, and we haven't even started.
Is that what it was called? The Comedy of Terrors. Thought that was my choice. Was that my choice?
No, I did one. I did the Oblong Box.
Well, yeah,
Look,
that one. Yeah,
but
that
that had-
one did have Christopher Lee and Vincent Price, right? That's what you said?
Yes. And who was in Comedy of Terrors? Vincent Price and
It was Vincent Price and Peter Lorre and Boris Karloff.
yeah, so it wasn't any.
A little different. Okay. For some reason, I thought Christopher Lee was in Comedy of Terrors, but no, I should have known he would not do something like that, Karen.
Well, just since you brought it up, there are only 2 movies that all 3 of them are in. House of the Long Shadows from 1983, which is the one we're going to talk about today, and Scream and Scream Again from 1970.
Okay.
But do you want to guess how many films Cushing and Lee were in together? We've probably covered that before, but
Together? So it was all the Hammer films, right? Well, most of them were Hammer films, or probably more. I'm going to say, I know Christopher Lee was Dracula 7 times and Hammer. And I don't think Peter Cushing was in all of those, but I think they've been in other things. So I'm going to say 7, including, Frankenstein too. They were both in Frankenstein, the Hammer Frankenstein. So I'm going to say, you know what? I'm going to go 9.
we're getting adventurous.
Yes, 9.
Actually, they were in 24 movies together.
Oh, wow.
22. Some places say 22. There's some technical difference. Once Peter Cushing's scenes got cut and another time something else happened, but they were together on set 24 times.
I know they were really good friends.
Yes,
know
they
that.
all 3 were actually.
But I know Peter Cushing and Christopher Lee were especially close.
Yes, best friends.
BFFs
Yes.
until the end. Doesn't it appear he was ever knighted, Karen?
That just seems strange to me.
I agree.
We're talking about Cushing.
Yes. Okay, so you chose this film because they all have birthdays
The week this comes out.
the week this Saturday after this episode comes out. You have a cocktail for us, Karen, to go along with this film?
I do.
And what would that be?
It's called The Poisoned Punch.
How will we make such a concoction, Karen?
In a shaker with ice, add 1.5 ounces of gin, 1.5 ounces of apple juice, 1.5 ounces of cranberry juice, 1 ounce of grenadine. Shake well. You can add a pinch of glitter and then pour it into your favorite glass.
My recipe was different, Karen.
What was your recipe?
Mine didn't have ounces; it had parts. I was going to ask you, what did you use as your part? But apparently, you used a different recipe.
Well, I saw it on YouTube.
Okay,
So she made it on YouTube, and that's what she did.
gotcha.
A
It's
bartender.
a little different,
It still had the same things in it, right?
but different amounts.
Oh, what did you do?
2 parts gin, 2 parts apple juice, 2 parts cranberry juice, 1 part grenadine, and then the glitter.
Well, that's pretty close.
That's close. All right. Should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own poison punch cocktail?
Absolutely.
Hold on. And we're back.
Yes, we are.
All right, Karen, might you have a brief synopsis?
I do.
Is it very brief, Karen?
It's pretty brief.
All right, let's see if we're a match. Go on. Tell me a story.
An American author finds a dilapidated Welsh manor perfect for writing until the residents host a bizarre family reunion.
Thank you, Karen, for that brief synopsis. We are a match.
It's true.
Suppose. All right, Karen, are you ready to get into it? Or should we just cut to the end and say how many cocktails we want to give?
Well, first we should mention that when we looked it up last week, it was on Amazon Prime.
I thought so. I was
But
surprised.
this week, not so much. But it was available on YouTube.
Is that where you watched it?
Yes, Dr. Terror's channel on YouTube. Is that where you found it?
I did see that, but I decided to watch it on Daily Motion just to be different because I figured you would go with Dr. Terror, Karen.
I did. So thank you, Dr. Terror. I guess.
I suppose it would have been a shame if we wouldn't have been able to watch this film.
True. Yeah, take another sip, Greg.
I have like 3 more ounces or 1.5 more ounces than you do.
Oh, it's going to get bigger and bigger as we go along, like you're the fish that you caught.
No.
Oh, I have 6 more ounces than you do.
No, I have a 1/2 ounce more of alcohol, a 1/2 ounce more of apple juice, and a 1/2 ounce more of cranberry juice, Karen. So that's 1 and 1/2 ounces.
Okay.
All right. Are you ready to get into it?
Sure.
House of Long Shadows from 1983. You remember 1983, Karen?
I do. It was a very good year.
They were good years. 83, 84, 85.
I escaped.
All those were good. Hell, 82 even. Even 81, even 80, Karen.
Well, you're getting a little too far back for me.
Yeah.
Oh, did you have a moment of remembering?
I was trying to remember something.
Don't hurt yourself.
Film begins, Karen, and we have credits, at least in the version I watched.
Yes, very simple credits.
No warnings on Daily Motion. Do you have any warnings about?
None from
anything?
Dr. Terror. Nope.
I don't think well, the only thing they would have been is drinking, I think. I don't know, whatever.
But just a black background and white writing. And even that was a simple font.
Correct.
Nothing, even terror-like.
Yeah, do you think it felt very, I don't want to say low budget, but low budget from the beginning?
Kind of.
Kind
I think they spent the money on the actors.
Yes, that's what I was just about to say, Karen. So credits, and apparently Kenneth, we learned his name is Kenneth, is arriving in England because he's getting on the wrong side of the car.
Yep.
Someone's there to pick him up at the airport. I guess it's his publisher.
Yes, the steering wheel's on the wrong side of the car, but it is his publisher.
Picking him up.
His name is Kenneth McGee, and he is very 80s looking. The hair, the clothes. Played
by Desi Arnaz Jr., right?
Yes.
Is he in anything else?
I don't know, but
he got according to the poster, he got kind of special billing.
I don't know. Probably not. I'm going to guess.
Nice hair.
He did have nice hair. Kind of played it like he was on cocaine, though, or something. I don't know. Just
maybe
wide-eyed.
He was, Karen.
Was the 80s. There you go.
Was the 80s.
Had that look about him.
His publisher drops him off at the hotel and says, hey, I'll meet you, for lunch later, whatever. So he has lunch with his publisher, Sam, and he keeps running into this blonde woman.
She's outside the restaurant, then she's inside the restaurant. He just can't keep his eyes off of her.
Played by Julie Peasgood, Karen. Julie Peasgood. I think that's her real name. Julie
I would guess so,
Peasgood.
because maybe she would change it if it wasn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't change it to that, would you?
I wouldn't think so.
But his editor says, oh, I know, it's love at first sight. And Kenneth says, no, I'm just horny.
Yes,
he doesn't
does.
believe in love. It's a cynical age he lives in.
But they're talking, and Kenneth makes a bet with Sam that he can knock out a novel in 24 hours.
Sam is just kind of reminiscing about old, great authors of the past who wrote sweeping novels about romance and feelings. And Kenneth is more just like, yeah, that's just too over the top. I just want the cash. I'll just spit out. And he says, I can write one of those books. Easy peasy. Yeah, in 24 hours, I can write that crap.
Yeah, he can write something comparable to Wuthering Heights in 24 hours.
Which, was an 1847 novel by Emily Bronte, initially published under her pen name, Ellis Bell. It concerns two families of the landed gentry living on the West Yorkshire moors, the Earnshaws and the Lintons, and their turbulent relationships with the Earnshaws' foster son, Heathcliff. The novel was influenced by Romanticism and Gothic fiction.
You think?
Yeah, I know. But how much do they bet?
20,000, I assume, American dollars.
They said dollars.
As I kept saying dollars.
So do you know how much that is now?
So $20,000 in 1983?
Yeah.
It's probably the equivalent to, I'm not going to add the zero because that would be too high. I'm going to say $50,000.
$60,609.64.
So close.
Yeah, it's pretty close. That's impressive. I would have given it to you.
No,
You didn't.
I was going to say it was so close to 666,000.
Oh, yeah. Not for this movie.
There's that number again, Karen.
But Kenneth says he can write a novel like that in 24 hours. They bet the $20,000 if he has a place of total isolation with atmosphere.
He just wants a quiet place to write.
With atmosphere. And Sam's like, I know a guy.
I know just the place.
I know a guy. Has a property in Wales.
An old abandoned English manor.
Empty for over 40 years with no electricity. So Kenneth is like, ooh, I'll write by candlelight.
And he writes the name of the manor down. And it's Bald Pate Manor.
Bold Paint Manor, something like that. It doesn't look like it sounds.
Yeah. I think it's Bald Pate Manor. So then we see Kenneth driving through a thunderstorm on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, do you want to wait? How much do you think it rains in Wales?
I'll bet a lot.
Inches per year.
See, I don't know. See, because I could say something I would think is a lot, but I don't have any frame of reference to inches per year.
Yeah, it's hard to know, right? This seems low to me, but
inches per year? I have no idea.
33.5 inches per year.
That does seem low.
The wettest season is in the autumn. This is the average rainfall. So you're going to have times that are higher, obviously, and lower. So that's the average. But it's quite the storm.
Yes, I wrote I would totally wreck in that storm. Driving on the wrong side of the road.
And it's raining heavily.
In the dark.
Sure. Yep.
In a heavy rain. And he ends up at a train station, Karen. I guess he's going to ask for directions.
Yeah, he's lost.
He talks to a couple who are in the train station. They've been waiting for hours. Apparently the train ain't coming.
They bicker. They're kind of a young couple, but they don't appear to be happy together. He was trying to do something nice, and she hates everything.
Then like an old woman enters or something?
Yeah, she looks kind of like a witch or something. A hooded figure comes in and goes right into the women's bathroom.
And they hear a crash and they check on her, but she's gone. She's not in the room anymore. She windows open and she's gone. So I don't know what that was all about, but we may find out later. But then the station manager enters and Kenneth asks for directions to the manor, and station manager tells him that the manor is cursed, but he does give him directions on how to get there. Kenneth arrives at the manor and appears deserted, Karen.
Yeah, he does. As he drives up, you see it in the distance. Kind of nice. It's a nice manor. He's impressed. It's like, wow, that's awesome. I'm going to write in this manor.
Uplit with blue lights, it looked up like, as you do. But he finds a bedroom to his liking, I guess, and he pulls out his manual typewriter, Karen.
But before that, he doesn't even have a flashlight.
No.
There's no electricity. He tries the switch on the wall. Nothing turns on.
And he knew that going in.
Yes. And he has no flashlight. How the hell does he see anything in there? It's dark outside. It's a thunderstorm. So you can't even say there's a full moon or something. And he just walks in, doesn't bump into anything, looks around a little bit and finds a room to his liking.
True.
It was weird. Like, how does he see anything?
Yeah, he doesn't light anything until he finds his room. And he lights a candle.
Yes.
And pulls out his manual typewriter.
Yeah, I thought for a second it was an electric typewriter.
I did too.
But no, it's a manual one.
Did you have to use a manual typewriter back when you were in high school, Karen, to type up your papers?
No, actually, I did not. I had an electric one.
Oh,
Typing class had electric typewriters, and my mom liked that kind of stuff. So we had an electric typewriter.
Yeah.
Plus, she used to type a lot of my brother's essays and stuff. So she got an electric one.
Okay, I was curious because I know you're so much older than me. Maybe you had a manual, didn't have an electric one.
Nice.
I had an electric one. I never used a manual in high school or anything. Used electric.
We had them. They, I know what they are. I've used them for fun, but I never
my
used
mom
them.
had one as well.
Yeah.
Like we had
I never
both.
used one for writing my papers in college or anything. They were always electric ones.
Yeah, you could just hit the return key and it would, or enter and it would, ka-chunk, and it would go, and
yeah,
you didn't have to like do the thing like he does and advance to the next line.
I used to go type my papers when I worked at the Y. I would stay late and use their electric typewriters because I didn't have one.
And he begins typing. I guess the title of his book is Midnight Manor. Sounds like an 80s song.
Or a band.
Then he begins looking around the room.
Well, you can't just sit down and write. It's not as easy as that. So he gets up, stretches, and he starts to notice a few things.
I wrote, although it appears deserted, there is no dust. Is that what we see when he's wiping his fingers on the
There's
clock?
no dust on the clock. There's fresh water in the vase that you would use to wash your hands or face. There's fresh sheets on the bed.
So what's he going to do when he wants to take a shower, Karen? Maybe he doesn't need to. He's only going to be there 24 hours.
Yeah,
right?
it's only 24 hours.
I was going to say he's got no hot water. That's what I was thinking about. Then he goes out of the room and goes out to the landing above
With
the
no
staircase.
light again. No
Yeah.
lights.
But he does see light from a door below open and close. So he goes down to investigate and he runs into Lord Elijah and his daughter Victoria. And they are apparently the caretakers of the manor. Kenneth explains that he is there to write a novel with permission from the owner. Then he says Jesus or something, and that makes Victoria upset. He's used the Lord's name in vain, Karen. Oh, if I had a quarter for every time I heard my mother tell me not to take the Lord's name in vain. Be a rich little boy.
Well, I think she'd be the rich one. Because if she would take the
If
quarter.
I had a quarter for every time.
Yeah, but she should get the quarter if you're saying it. Or you're saying she just said, don't do
Yes.
that. But you already did it.
Yes, I already did.
So if there was a swear jar, your quarter should have gone in it and she would have retired rich.
Then someone else enters and Elijah and Victoria leave.
It's the witch woman from the train
Yeah,
station.
I wrote it. It appears to be the same woman from the train station. Kenneth and the woman struggle, but it turns out to be the blonde woman he saw earlier, but she's wearing a mask.
And she needs to speak with him immediately.
That's right. She's come to see Kenneth. I'm like, so is she followed him to the train station and went to the bathroom and jumped out the window for, doesn't make any sense. But she must talk to him in private.
Immediately.
So they go up to his room. She tells him that he is in terrible danger and she begs him to leave and that her name is Catherine.
But he's not going anywhere. He's like, $20,000 is at stake here. I'm not leaving.
Yes, he said, good night. I said good night. And ushers her out of the room. Not interested. So Catherine goes downstairs and gets on the phone before she leaves.
She says something's after them. They have to leave or they'll be killed. She's with an organization called OPIT, Organization Promotion of International Terrorism. They're in real danger. She insists he's in danger. It's like a James Bond kind of plot. She's trying to say that someone's after him and he he's not really buying it. And he does say good night and basically pushes her out the door.
She goes downstairs and gets on the phone and makes a collect call, Karen.
Which the phone, for some reason, is working. Even though the place has been abandoned for 40 years, the phone works.
And we learn apparently her real name is Mary, and she is the publisher's secretary. She is calling the publisher. Publisher sent her there to try to trick him to keep him from writing his novel, but she says he ain't going for it. Oh, and by the way, there's caretakers here. And
Kenneth is watching her and hearing everything she's saying, which is important.
But Sam tells her they're not supposed to be caretakers, I guess, and
no one should be there.
She says she's going to call the police, but then Elijah and Victoria interrupt her. And I thought he cut the phone line. That's what it looked like to me.
Well, he's mad she used it without permission. Maybe he did cut it. I didn't see it.
So then Mary comes clean to Kenneth, but does tell him there should be no caretakers. There should be only 2 keys, hers and Kenneth's. She apologizes and goes to leave, but Kenneth asks her to stay. She leaves, but they agree to have breakfast in the morning. As Mary is leaving, who we learn is Sebastian, enters the house using his key. Everybody's got a key, Karen, apparently. Yeah. So Mary goes to Kenneth's room and tells him someone else has arrived. Kenneth agrees to go with her and find out what's going on. He grabs a candle and they go to investigate.
Except finally he gets candlelight while he walks around.
Then we have a black cat jump scare.
And she says she hears breathing, but he didn't hear it.
No. But they happen upon Sebastian, who we learn is Sebastian, and the caretakers. I guess they're like enjoying a drink in the dining room or something. But who we learn is Sebastian, played by Peter Cushing, says that his car broke down and he arrived hoping to seek shelter.
And Victoria starts pushing her hot punch.
Yes.
Whatever that is. Would you like some hot punch?
It's my own recipe.
But Kenneth says no. But everybody else is drinking it.
Then as Kenneth is about to question Sebastian and the caretakers about what is going on, Mary sees a figure outside the window. Kenneth goes out to investigate. He doesn't see anything outside, but someone enters the manor. It is who we learn is Lionel, played by Vincent Price. As Lionel walks in, Sebastian and the caretakers, they leave. Lionel explains that he is the eldest son of the former owner and he used to live there in the manor.
And he has a soliloquy, which Kenneth starts to interrupt, but he says, don't interrupt my soliloquy.
Yes. This is described as a horror comedy, and that's the only funny part in the whole thing.
I know.
Right there.
There's no, there's no comedy. He says this was his home until the dust claimed it. It used to have love and laughter. Now it's desolate. And he would like some hospitality. So Victoria offers him some hot punch.
Kenneth really doesn't care what's going on. He just wants to write.
Mary wants to leave. He doesn't know what's happening. But they're going to find out. So they go in there.
Begins questioning them. And he says he really doesn't care what's going on. He just wants to write.
Yes. Leave them. He wants them to just leave him alone.
So then Kenneth and Mary go up to his room and I wrote, they make a love connection, Karen. I believe they kiss and embrace or some shit.
Before they do that, Kenneth notices that the table is set for 6 people.
Yes.
So something's going on. Because Victoria says, well, we thought maybe you'd be hungry. And he said, there's 6 places here. But then he just says, keep the noise down. I'm going upstairs to write. And then you're right.
Love connection.
Yes. I said, well, wouldn't that be distracting? She wishes they had met under different circumstances. He says, to hell with the circumstances, and kisses her again.
Then we see Kenneth typing and Mary is sleeping.
Which would be very difficult.
True.
Shut up.
But then they smell food. Mary wakes up and it smells like a roast.
Ooh. He's like, I could use a break.
They go down to investigate, and as they're leaving, we find out that Kenneth has a Zippo. Because he pulls his Zippo out. And
yeah, why wasn't he using that earlier?
I don't know. So they begin looking at the paintings in the hallway as they're leaving the room now that he has a Zippo. And we see that the paintings are of all the people who are downstairs, Karen. There's Lionel Grisbane, Sebastian Grisbane, Victoria Grisbane, and Lord Elijah Grisbane. And then there's one spot that's missing, a painting.
Yep.
So as Kenneth and Mary are going downstairs, Sir Christopher Lee enters. Apparently he's got a key too, Karen.
Yep.
And he introduces himself as Corrigan. And I wasn't sure if that was his first name or his last name, but that's what he says. Corrigan. I am Corrigan.
He's about to purchase the property he stopped by when he saw the lights were on. And he's in a full tuxedo. So I don't know where he was going, but he's in a tux.
Well, he's Sir Christopher Lee.
True.
Yeah, he wants to know what's going on at the property he is about to purchase.
And they're having a family reunion. And Victoria offers him punch.
Yeah, they're having a Brisbane family reunion.
And Corrigan says, you don't have any right to be here. And
Right.
they don't agree.
Private property.
Yes.
He tells him he intends to tear the house down and have the land set up for industrial purposes.
They don't like that either.
No, they don't. But we learn that Roderick Grisbane is the painting that is missing. And apparently he brought down the good name of the Brisbanes. Karen.
In 1939.
Victoria pleads with Corrigan to let them enjoy their time there together. It's the first time they've been together in years.
40 years.
Corrigan agrees.
Well, I don't think I have any choice. They're already there. They're not going to leave.
And Victoria plays the piano and sings for them.
Yeah, she sings an opera.
And
La Forza del Destino.
apparently
The
it's a
Force of
family,
Destiny.
yeah, family tradition or something. I don't know. They
Yeah.
sing before dinner. I don't know.
I think it's after. It's an Italian opera by Verdi. First performed in Russia. It's not very good. She's not.
She's not very good.
Well, that's what I should have said.
I would-
Sorry.
I would say
You're right.
The Verdi composition is probably very good.
Yes. She is
I
not a very
enjoy
good.
Verdi, actually.
She is not a very good singer. She's kind of butchering it a little bit.
We played Verdi's Requiem in marching band, Karen, in high school.
Awesome.
So as she's singing, Victoria breaks down and cries. I don't know. She's having memories or some shit about her guy she was supposed to be married to named
Lost
Ashley.
love. Ashley.
Ashley, what should I do? Where should I go?
And leaves the room. And this is, why does Peter Cushing sound like Elmer Fudd?
I don't
Did
know.
you notice that? It was a weird.
It's a different role for him than I've seen him in. He's kind of bumbling, stuttering, kind of.
Yeah. He's not in charge. That's for sure.
No. But we learn that Roderick died when he was 14 years old, and his room has been locked shut ever since. That's what Vincent Price says. Lionel. The Brisbanes want everyone out by midnight, apparently. For some reason, Christopher Lee or Corrigan demands to know why, and he will have them all removed by force
He's going to the police.
because they are trespassing on private property. Sebastian tells them that Roderick is still alive.
Just kidding.
Yeah,
He's
we
not
lied.
dead.
He's alive, and he's still locked up. Because he was a bad boy, we decided to keep him locked up for 40 years.
And Mary says, that's the locked door. She knew she heard someone inside the room.
So Kenneth, Mary, and Corrigan go to let Roderick out.
That was their plan, right?
That was the whole plan. They were going to let him out at midnight. It's been in
He
40
served
years.
he served his family imposed sentence.
Just want to know what a few hours difference makes, but whatever. But they begged them not to because he's been locked up since 14. He's probably a dangerous animal. He's gone feral or whatever.
Yes, he'll be a raving thing, not a human. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We appreciate you spending time with us. You know, you can help us grow our audience by following us on social media at Scary Spirits Podcast. Just look for us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to tell all your friends to find us too. Now let's get back to the show.
So they enter the room after debate, and they find it empty.
The window's open.
Yeah, they suspect that he left through the window, and the bars are pulled apart. There's bars on the window, too. And we see dead rats and
Picked
skeletons.
clean skeletons, white as the virgin snow.
Yeah, and then a body falls from the ceiling.
It's
on
a
the
young
noose.
kid's. Yeah, it's a young kid's bedroom. There's army men, rocking horse, and then that body falls. Who is that?
Oh no. But Lord Elijah has a heart attack when the body falls. And then I wrote, is there a knife through the body of that fell? Because it looks like there's a knife sticking out because they
Well, and what was
over it.
covered in maggots on the floor? I didn't know what that was either.
It looked like a doll or a ventriloquist dummy that they moved, and there was maggots there after they moved it.
But why?
I don't know. Because of maggots.
I guess.
So then Kenneth wants to call the doctor or the police or something because Elijah's had a heart attack and, what's going on here? Roderick's missing, whatever. Lionel refuses. He says Roderick has not gone far. He has waited a long time for this evening. So Lionel suspects that Roderick wants revenge, I think. And then we finally hear what Roderick did to get him locked up for 40 years. Apparently he seduced a girl, a simple girl, Karen. Not just a girl, a simple girl.
A simple village girl.
I guess knocked her up and killed her when he found out she was pregnant. Is that what we're led to believe here?
When he was 14, yes.
When he was 14.
He cut her belly open.
And the family sentenced Roderick to 40 years locked in his room.
Yes. For centuries, the Grisbins have been their own law. It is a family matter, and that is for family justice. Not sure I'd want my family to decide my justice. You'd think they'd be lenient, but no, they locked him in a room for 40 years.
Yep. Then Victoria enters and tells them that Lord Elijah is dead. He was their father, right?
Yes.
So Corrigan convinces Kenneth and Mary to leave.
Immediately.
With him, he's going to go find a telephone and phone the police. Then we have another black cat jump scare in Kenneth's room.
He sees a shadow out in the woods. And then they do the black cat jump scare, which got me because it comes out of a basket. And Kenneth is like, how did he even get in here?
Then they hear screams and they run downstairs to find that the couple from the train station have arrived, Karen.
Soaking wet.
Yeah, their train never came, and they just heard the directions the train master gave Kenneth and decided to try to go there for shelter, I guess. And they were attacked outside the manor.
They were in shelter at the train station.
I know.
I guess there was no food or anything, but I don't think I would have left in the pouring rain. I think I would have stayed at the station.
Corrigan takes Kenneth outside, and they discover that all the tires of the cars have been slashed. Then back in the manor, we learn that Andrew is an artiste, a painter, apparently. He's even sold one painting, Karen.
Yes, so he's talking to Kenneth, and his wife is talking to Mary. They kind of split up a little bit.
Andrew and Diana, that's their names.
Diana likes Sir Christopher Lee.
She does, but she ain't got nothing nice to say about Andrew.
No, she does not.
Then we hear a piano playing, and they go to check that out. And of course, there's no one there. And they look for Victoria. They find her, Karen, with her neck slit in the room with her father. She gone.
With a piano wire.
Next, we have Andrew and Diana arguing.
Back to the bickering couple.
Andrew punches her right in the face.
He does. She says she hates him and goes into the house.
So next we see Andrea changing clothes, Karen. See her in her unmentionables.
Because when he punched her, she fell into the rain.
In the mud.
Yeah. So her face has mud on it.
Yeah. So she's undressing in her underwear there in the room, and she begins washing her face in the bowl of water. She screams. The others run up, and I wrote, she's a bloody mess.
Yeah. I said, oh, it's acid in the bowl.
That's what I wrote. Was she washing her face with acid? ? I wrote.
You can hear her skin sizzling.
Yeah, and it smokes. That's what led me to believe, it must be acid. So Kenneth, Mary, and Sebastian console Andrew. They give him punch.
Of course. He's crying, and they say, leave him with Mary. She'll console him. Women are good at that kind of stuff. And she just says, just sit quietly and drink. You'll feel better.
And Andrew begins choking and convulsing. apparently the punch was poisoned, Karen.
I was like, thank God, because the movie
Poison punch.
moving along, and I'm like, oh my God, I picked another one where the drink had nothing to do with the movie. But yes, we have poison punch, people. I'm vindicated.
So he gone. And then a bookcase opens up, revealing a secret passage, I guess, Karen. So they decide to split up, and they're going to try to force Roderick out. Like, half of them are going to force Roderick back to where the other ones are, and they're going to, I don't know, kill Roderick before he kills them or whatever. That's their plan, right? So Kenneth, Mary, and Sebastian search through catacombs. It looks like catacombs.
It does.
Sewer
and
or something.
At this point, I'm thinking Sir Christopher Lee is Roderick. Like, did you know that at this point?
I knew it from the beginning, Karen.
Oh, because you read about it?
Well, no, because I write every episode. I write, okay, here's all the names of the characters.
Oh.
And the character Christopher Lee plays Corrigan / Roderick. So I already knew who he was,
okay.
Roderick.
Well, I started to guess.
That's pretty good.
Right around now. Because I'm thinking, I started watching and he's not he's missing sometimes and whatever. And I thought, he's Roderick. So I was all proud of myself, that I figured this out.
Good for you. I'm not sure I would have.
So yes, they're in the catacombs. So Kenneth comes up with the plan, the Scooby-Doo plan, right? 2 people are going to go into the catacombs and 2 people are going to wait for him to be flushed out. Why he doesn't think there's another exit from the catacombs, I don't know, right? Because
they're assuming that it's Roderick in the catacombs from the beginning.
Right. So Mary won't.
I mean, I guess someone was pushing the door open. Who the fuck was that, Karen?
I don't know, but Mary won't leave Kenneth. So she's going with him. So Peter Cushing, Mary, and Kenneth go into the catacombs together.
And then they get separated and Sebastian's candle blows out.
The whole plan is to stay together because he can't hurt all of us.
But Kenneth goes ahead and Mary and Sebastian stop and have a chat or some shit and their candle blows out.
Because Sebastian is afraid and he tells Mary he's afraid. And he's been afraid for 40 years because of what they've done. But yeah, the whole plan is to stick together and Kenneth just goes off and leaves him. And it's his plan, which might be why they did it.
They have to keep up with him. So then Mary runs to where Kenneth is. She finds him, and
you did say their candle went out. Yes.
Yeah. And then in the process, they find Sebastian hanging from a noose, or Mary does anyway. Grabs his hand. I think she thinks it's Kenneth at first, but Sebastian hanging from a noose. He go. So Lionel tells Corrigan that Sebastian is dead, and Corrigan calls Lionel brother.
Yes. So Mary comes out of the catacombs, but Kenneth stays down there for some reason. He continues to walk around with his candle.
What does he say? Do you remember what he says exactly? It's a good line. Yes, brother.
Oh, Vincent Price says his brother is dead. There is no escape or fate. The fate was decided long ago. That line.
Yeah.
And then I wrote, I knew it.
Is that what Christopher Lee says? Fate was decided long ago, brother.
No, Vincent Price says that.
But he says something afterwards and calls him brother.
He just says, yes, brother, or something like that. So we know.
So then we see Kenneth, and he finds the missing painting of Roderick.
And it looks like...
I wrote, apparently it is Corrigan.
Yes, it looks like him. So
Corrigan reveals himself to the others as Roderick. He escaped long ago, but has come back periodically to convince Victoria that he was still locked in the room. So we'd have to come back like at least once a week, right? A couple of times a week?
You would think. Although she didn't go in to see if the food was eaten.
No. And he appears to have done well for himself. Apparently he's buying the place.
Well, if that's a real story.
He's very cultured.
Yes. Maybe he just knew they were supposed to let him out that night and came back.
Yeah. So then we learned that apparently Lionel was the one who actually killed the girl.
But he was the heir because he was the oldest brother. So he couldn't be held responsible because he wouldn't get everything then. So he blamed his little brother. And
Roderick has returned to seek justice. He grabs an axe, Karen.
And Vincent Price says, it's not justice you seek, it's blood. He grabs a battle axe.
A battle axe, yeah, from a suit of armor.
Yes.
And goes towards Lionel, and then he hacks him to death, Karen.
He goes to town.
We only see shadows.
Yes.
So Mary runs away, and Sir Christopher Lee, or Roderick, follows her.
That's
very
kind of a
slowly and deliberately.
yes. It's kind of menacing because he's carrying the battle axe, and not only does it have blood on it, but it has hair on it. So I was like, okay, that's a little creep, because he can do creepy, so when he's walking slowly with the battle axe, his facial expression is creepy. That's probably one of the better scenes in the movie.
Then just as Roderick is going to hit Mary with the axe, Kenneth arrives and I wrote tackles him. Two of them fight and struggle. Roderick strangles Kenneth with his tie, his bow tie.
His bow tie.
It's a real bow tie, apparently. He tied himself because he unties it and strangles Kenneth with it. Then he picks up the axe and goes towards Mary. Kenneth regains consciousness, I guess, and kicks him down the stairs. And then Kenneth and Mary embrace.
And he does fall all the way down the stairs.
He does. And apparently he fell on top of the axe, Karen.
Yes, he did. He impaled himself.
And Kenneth apologizes to Roderick, says he didn't want to fight or kill him.
But he does know the truth. He says, I know the truth.
You were wrongly accused.
Yes. I don't know how he knows that. All he saw was the painting. But yeah, he says he knows it wasn't you.
Roderick does his death scene, and as he does, all the people who died earlier in the film enter the room. And then even Mary gives him a smile and joins them at the bottom of the stairs. And finally, the last person who enters is Sam, laughing.
And the lights come on. Yes.
So apparently all the characters were actors playing parts. We learned it was all a trick played on Kenneth by his publisher. And Mary is actually married to the man who played Andrew, much to Kenneth's chagrin.
Yes. But that's an awful... I mean, they had to know that all this was going to happen beforehand. And I don't know how they knew that. But they kind of make fun of each other. They insult each other. And Mary's like, oh, I wish I wanted to die. But I didn't get to. And they're complimenting Christopher Lee on this fall down the stairs and how great it was. So they're all talking about their parts. And Kenneth says he's not angry. He's grateful. Sam taught him something. Emotions are bigger than anything. And Kenneth says, I get it, but it kind of hurts. Mostly because he wanted to be with Mary.
So then we have birds chirping, and Kenneth finishes his novel and he leaves the manor. He gives the novel to Sam, and Sam gives him a check for $20,000. Sam leaves and Kenneth rips up the check.
Because he's not into the money anymore. He actually cared about the characters and everything. So that's the lesson he learned.
As he's ripping up the check, Mary enters. And we learn her name is Mary Jameson, not Norton. But she is Sam's secretary.
This was so weird. I didn't get what was going on here.
You didn't get it? So Kenneth asks if she believes in love at first sight. And she says, why not? Then we see Vincent Price waiting tables.
But she was married to the other guy.
No, she wasn't. That was all part of the novel.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing up until the part when Sam gives him the check was the novel.
All right.
There's kind of like a double twist there, I guess, in there. The end. Credits, Karen. All right, Karen. Anything you really enjoyed or were pleasantly surprised by in this film from 1983?
Okay.
Would you like me to go first?
No, I will say that I didn't see that twist coming at the end, where they were all actors. I didn't see it. I thought I was so smart when I figured out that Roderick was Corrigan or whatever his name was. And I was like, oh, I'm so fucking smart. And then at the end, I'm like, oh, I'm not smart at all. So the twist was unexpected. I didn't see it coming. So I liked that. Some of the shadow work was good. The battle axe shadow work, pretty much it. The manor was, I guess, nice. as a backdrop? What do you got?
Well, I just wrote down sets. I mean, I thought the manor was a good backdrop. I thought Christopher Lee was really good.
He was the best of the bunch.
Oh, heads and shoulders above everyone else. He was really good. Might be one of my favorite Christopher Lee films we've done so far. Favorite roles. Because once again, like you said in the last one we did, where it looked like he was having fun, I think he was having fun in this. Maybe.
Well, as you would if you got to do a movie with your two best friends, that would be fun. But he was much better than all of the other ones. You're right, for sure.
He was. He appears much younger than Vincent Price and definitely Peter Cushing. I didn't really realize that, but he did, live much longer than both of them. So I guess that makes sense. What didn't you enjoy, Karen, or didn't like?
I didn't like the character direction that Peter Cushing took. I know he's supposed to be bumbling or whatever, but it wasn't believable looking at him. And I don't know if it's because it's Peter Cushing or because he didn't do a good job of it. It is a
different role. That's much different than we've.
It's
different than I've seen him in anything, not just films we've done.
I didn't care for it. I thought it was kind of boring. It dragged.
I think he was trying to provide comic relief.
I think, but it didn't quite work. And they build it as a comedy.
You think it didn't work because he's Peter Cushing?
I don't know. I wonder. But
he just doesn't do comedy well, or you don't think of him as being a comedian, or
I don't know. But it was supposed to be a comedy horror and there was no comedy in it. Zero. I mean, you had to look for it, and I was disappointed in that because I expected it to be campy and it was just kind of bad. It wasn't bad in a campy way. It was just bad.
Yeah. Even the comedy of terrors was bad in a campy way.
Yes. They knew they were playing it that way. This way seemed kind of serious, which, as you mentioned, Christopher Lee is the only one who pulls it off, that really sells it and pulls it off well. Peter Cushing tried something new. It didn't really work. Vincent Price played Vincent Price. He's always kind of that character. But it just didn't mesh, which is so weird because you would think it would be good.
You would think.
Do you think it was the writing that was bad, or I don't know?
Well, it had to be writing or directing. It had to be writing. I mean,
but they weren't
bad writing. You can give direction and make it a good performance, right?
But you weren't
like
rolling
Christopher
your
Lee.
eyes.
He's doing this. It's the same writer wrote Christopher Lee's shit, and he was great. So
that's what I mean. Nobody said anything that you thought was so stupid, like, oh, look, he's running up the stairs. Like there was no stilted dialogue or anything. They were fine with there was the Scooby-Doo plan and it didn't quite work and all that, but that was supposed to happen. They were supposed to be separated. The actors were all doing their jobs. The bickering couple was believable as a bickering couple. So nobody was bad. Like, I wouldn't pull anyone out and say the acting was bad. I wouldn't say the dialogue was stilted or anything, but somehow it just didn't work. It was very disappointing to have all three of them in there and just have it be.
I mean, we say it's the writing, but like I just said, Christopher Lee is reading the same.
Yeah, I don't think it is. I think it's just some weird chemistry thing, or
I don't know.
Because the story's fine. I mean, it has a lot of.
Well, the story is based on 7 Keys from Baldpate, which was a novel from 1913. And it's been made into, first it was a play, then it was a silent film. And it's been made, so 1916, 1917, 1925, 1929, 1935, and 1947. They were all films. They were all called 7 Keys of Baldpate.
But did they include the writer part, or was it just the story where Roderick comes back and kills everybody? Because that's a fine story. That's a horror story.
Yeah, it's a 1913 novel. It was a bestseller.
But this one has the writer go to the mansion and then the story unfolds. But you don't even need him to be there. I mean, to have the twist at the end, you do. But if it was just the story where Roderick escaped many, many years ago and then has come back knowing that they are going to let him out after 40 years. And then he kills them off one by one. That's a good story. And it has all the tropes. It has the monster locked in the room, has the mansion, has the couple seeking shelter from the storm. It has, the family drama. It has all those things. Why did they need Desi Arnaz Jr.?
And maybe the issue is they tried to make it a comedy.
Maybe
they should have stuck to the original.
That would have been a scary story. That's kind of like, what was the one with Vincent Price where they all show up?
But I think they tried to make it an 80s. They had tried to like modernize it to the 80s, right?
I don't know. What's the haunted house on Haunted Hill? Is that where they get picked off one by one? Same kind of thing. I guess what they probably didn't want to do was make it slasher and gross, maybe, because that's the 80s. But you could have had some gruesome deaths and been done with it. And he could have just walked out, locked the door, and left. I mean, that would have been a cool story.
Desi Arnaz wasn't very good.
He wasn't terrible, but maybe he didn't look so good next to those three other actors.
Maybe. I don't know.
I wouldn't want to act with them. I would look terrible for sure.
No, but he was like in Streets of San Francisco and Police Story.
Well, he did guest spots, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is this his only feature film?
Night Gallery, Fantasy Island. And this came late. He did this, he did like 3 other things after this, and that was it. And one of them, he played his father. I just don't know why he got like on the poster. It's like, and Desi Arnaz Jr. in big print, Whatever.
I mean, did you think it worked? What did you not like about it?
The only thing I liked about it was the sets and Christopher Lee. Everything else I didn't really like. I liked Mary. I did like Mary. I thought she was good.
Maybe it's kind of like football teams where they just get a bunch of talent and it doesn't mesh together and the team doesn't work. But these guys liked each other. It wasn't like egos were playing any part of it or anything. So I don't know. I wouldn't recommend this one. Usually I'll just be like, yeah, if it's a Saturday and it's raining, there's nothing redeeming about this. It's just slow and chunky and clunky. And
all right. What kind of cocktail rating you want to give it? I have mine written down. Before you say anything, go on.
It's a 4.
It is a 4.
Yeah. Partly maybe because I had such high expectations for it, and I kept waiting for something to happen.
And that means it was so bad, boys and girls, it took us 4 cocktails to get through it. I did have to go back for more beer while I was watching it. I tried to find critics' reviews from the time, Karen. Could not find any.
Oh, bummer.
But I will say that it's rated on IMDb 6.2 out of 10.
Really?
Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 42% approval rating. And something called Letterboxd, which is another website kind of like Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 3.1 out of 5. And Google users, 90% of the people like this film.
Really? That's interesting. The double twist is good. The twist that it's Roderick and then it's a play, I guess that, but I don't see anything else really redeeming about it.
I don't either.
Well, that just goes to show you. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. But we're fans of those 3,
Yeah.
So I guess maybe we were just disappointed in it because we expected so much more.
Yeah, Peter Cushing did live like 10 more years. I didn't think he looked good.
I didn't either.
Well, this was filmed in 83, came out in 84, I think, and he died in 94. And also remembering the 80s, what I do remember of the 80s, I can't remember this being, I never heard about this before, right? And there's probably a reason. I don't remember this ever being in a theater or anything like that.
I wonder if it gets such high reviews from people for nostalgia.
Don't know. All right, what'd you think of the Poison Punch, Karen? You didn't care for it?
I didn't really care for it. I thought I was going to love it because I like all the ingredients in it, but it's a little too tangy or something.
I think it's good. I like it.
I mean, it's not that I
Kind
don't.
of
I
takes me
didn't
back to the 80s when I used to drink gin and Kool-Aid, Karen.
gin and juice.
Maybe that's why.
Ah, memories. I mean, I drank it. It's not that it's just not as good as I thought it was going to be. Kind of like the movie. So, it's just one of those, didn't quite get to where I thought it was going to be.
All right. Anything we learned today, Karen?
Not a whole lot. Rainfall in Wales, the two films that all three of these wonderful gentlemen are in together, how many films Cushing and Lee were in together, a little bit about Wuthering Heights, a little bit about La Forza del Destino, which I'm sure I butchered, by Giuseppe Verdi, and how much $20,000 is today from 1983. And that was reaching. There wasn't a whole lot in here that I could.
How was the quality on the YouTube that you watched?
It's pretty good.
Version? Okay, because mine was kind of pixelated.
No, it was good.
And there was a hum throughout the whole thing.
Bummer. No, it's pretty good.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, well, it's hard to say because sometimes Amazon doesn't have the best quality ones, but I would say it was almost up to their standards. Maybe not quite as good, but for a YouTube video, I think it was really good because some of those can be tough.
Yeah, so if you want to watch it, I guess you should choose YouTube until it's back on Amazon Prime, but then you got to fucking pay for it. I'm not sure I would pay for it.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't pay for it. At first, I was mad that it wasn't on there, and then I was like, well, that's okay.
All right, next film, Karen.
It's your choice. What do you got?
It's my choice. Finally, our next film is going to be, we'd like to say it's our first remake.
It's not, but it's...
No, I know, because, lots of these films we do have been remade, right? Or we're watching remakes of. So the film I have chosen is the Fright Night remake from 2011.
Okay, why did you choose that one?
The Fright Night remake stars Colin Farrell, Karen, as the vampire. What's his name?
Oh God, it's
Jerry.
Jerry. That's right. It's
Jerry the vampire. And the day this next episode comes out just happens to be Colin Farrell's birthday, Karen.
Awesome.
He was born in 1976.
Do you have a drink to go with this movie?
I do, Karen.
Did you find a unique vampire one? What do you got?
The drink I have chosen is called the Green Demon.
Okay. What do we need for that?
We're going to need Midori, vodka, white rum, and lemonade.
Wow.
So you got your mixer in there. You got your booze in your mixer.
Yep.
1 ounce Midori, 1 ounce vodka, 1 ounce light rum, and then lemonade to taste, Karen.
Well, someone's going to have more lemonade than someone else.
It says build all the liquors in a large goblet and top with lemonade. That's about it.
A goblet.
That's what it says.
Wow. I don't know if I have a goblet.
Improvise. And there should be a tie into the film. So we'll see. I chose that for a reason.
Excellent.
Much like your poison punch.
Thank God that showed up.
Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
Well, I need to thank Dr. Terror on YouTube for having
Yes.
this movie up so I could watch it. And of course, I want to thank our listeners. There's a lot of podcasts out there. Thank you for spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
So I want to thank April Summers, who I believe commented on one of our TikTok. April Summers 63, Karen.
Nice.
And then I want to thank For Too Many and Edward Lozano for subscribing to our YouTube channel. And also Jet Baby 2T, if that is your real name, for commenting on the Renfield YouTube video, Karen. They said that they would enjoy seeing more recent movie reviews.
Demeter, here we come.
And of course, I need to thank the band Verse 13 for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Hey, it's Karen, and I'm here to talk to you about getting social with us. Did you know you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast? Or check out our website, scaryspirits.com. If you have something to say, email us at info@scaryspirits.com. And as always, thanks so much for listening. Please drink responsibly.